today is talk a little bit about the project I've been working on, which I've named CYBERPHONK. Um, so yeah, basically what I've been doing up to this point is uh, I've always wanted to do something which is animated to sounds, to music. And the very much the animation is all synchronized to the music. Um, it's something that I've always had in the back of my mind, and I'm a big fan of. Like a lot of my inspiration for this comes from some of my favorite directors, like Edgar Wright, who very much encapsulates his visions through music. And it's actually really interesting because I had this idea quite a long time ago. I mean, when I was in my early 20s, I had this idea of it'd be so cool. Like, there are so many things you can play rhythmically with music and animation, right? So why not tie it together? Usually, what tends to happen in animation is you create an animation, you create some cool rhythms, and then in the sound, they will then add music afterwards and maybe try to tie in some Foley or some sound effects to kind of sync it to the animation. But I thought, wouldn't it be really cool to do it the other way around? And it's very similar with Edgar Wright. And in one of his recent interviews I was watching for I think it's Variety, he was talking about how the idea for Baby Driver all started with a song. And he literally could envision his whole sequence and pace it out in his mind based on the moments of the song and how it crescendo up and everything. And I found that really cool. And so this is kind of a collation, like a complete montage of different ideas that I've kind of thought of over time. I've really wanted to do something like this. So the reason I've called this Cyberpunk is because of two reasons. First of all, this animation is going to be heavily inspired by two of my favorite animes. One is Akira, and one is Ghost in the Shell. And then there's a little bit of like Matrix nods in there as well. And yeah, there's a song. There's lots of different rhythms. I'm also very into like different types of genres of music. So one of my big inspirations initially was math rock, because there's so many different time signatures and rhythms that play with math rock. But then so just a little bit of backstory here. I also, growing up in the 90s, I also was a really big fan of like a lot of racing games, especially like the 90s underground scene, like Japanese underground scene. So like playing Need for Speed, Underground, all that kind of stuff. And over time, I'm very into cars and stuff, especially like that era. And there was a whole subgenre of music that came out of that called drift funk, which is essentially just like really heavy like 808s and bass with like cowbells over the top, and it all originated from like a hip hop thing. There's a lot of history on funk, but through that I discovered this music and I listened to it and I was like, this ties together two of my favorite things. It has really interesting rhythms that escalate, but this also sounds very in kind of like a modern version of something you might hear in like Ghost in the Shell. So I was like, this could actually work really well. So I looked at a lot of different like royalty-free funk tracks, and I found this piece that I thought would work really well. There was a few that I had selected that I thought might be quite viable, but I've landed on this one. And then I found this what is it? I found this 3D model, which I paid for, got a license for, and it's of this big like cyberpunk. Like it's almost like if anyone has seen the film Dread, where it's in like a big like apartment block, but it's all like very cyber themes. You think of like if anyone's played Cyberpunk 2077, then you like the big apartment building that you live in at the beginning, very much in that era. So you'll see that in a minute. But I want to do this piece where it's very body mechanics based. It will be heavily inspired to be like animated in an anime way. So we'll be studying on stream, in later streams. I'll also be looking at clips of Ghost in the Shell and Akira, and we'll be studying how they animated it, and then also trying to tie that together a little bit with the Spider-Verse style that I was learning for the last couple of years whilst I was at Sony. So yeah, it'll be really fun. So at this stage, the things that I've been planning is the rig, the environment, the overall aesthetic and the layout. So I've done a very early pass of layout. So I can show you what I've been doing, and yeah, it's been quite a fun process. I haven't spent too long on it so far. Maybe like 5 hours, something like that, just on and off here and there. Um, so yeah, I'll show you a little bit of my inspirations that I've been finding so far. I'm also a very big fan of parkour. Not that I do it anyway in myself. Like if you were to see me, you'd be like, yeah, this guy does do parkour. But I've been a massive fan of a parkour group called Storo, who are pretty famous on YouTube. They're like a British parkour group, and I love some of the footage they get up to and some of the tricks, and I really want to like encapsulate some of the like core things. I feel like sometimes in body mechanics, like in some shots, we want to amplify animations. We do want to like exaggerate things in animation, but I like trying to ground things a little bit, and I think it feels more like sincere sometimes when you kind of stay a little bit more true to body mechanics. So there's like a balance I want to make where we like amplify a little bit more for the cyberpunk thing, but then also tie it and ground it in areas where we can. So yeah, let's see, where can I start? So I'll show you the rig that I've been working on up to this point. So let me just boot up Maya and we'll go from there. And then I'll show you a little bit of what I've been doing. Well, first of all, let's turn down the lo-fi thing, and then I'll from there we can quickly show you the clip that I've got to so far. So I'll quickly just bring up the edit. I've got it here. So yeah, I'll play this first. Let me know if you can hear it. Yeah, you can hear that. So I'm going to play the song first. And then, yeah, we'll talk a little bit through what we're going. It's very ambiguous at this point. You're going to be watching this like, I don't quite understand what's going on. So just for a little bit of context, I'll explain a little bit more what my intentions are afterwards. But yeah, at this stage, I'm very much using just a sphere as a representation for the main character. And it's just traversing through the environment. I've got a very rough pass of what the camera is doing. It has been edited. So I'll explain my process in a minute, but I've retimed this in Premiere after the play blast. So the frame rate changes a lot, but it's more just so that I'm hitting certain accents. So I'll play the video and then we'll go through it together. So that's the general concepts that I've got to at this stage. It's very rough, as you can tell. So the I guess let's talk about a little bit about the general concept a bit more. So I have this idea of there's going to be this person who's like, place is like going to be very grotty. It's going to be like, think of like something along the lines of like Cyberpunk 2077, but with like a bit more of an anime feel, kind of like Ghost in the Shell. You kind of got this dystopian city kind of thing. Yeah, it's a very big shot, but this is where it's an ongoing process. The thing is, I know some people like to show they work on something for ages, they bring it to completion, then they put it out there, and everyone's blown away, and they're like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" And then like there's that full wow factor. I have done that in the past, and it is an amazing experience to feel it that way. I think at this for me right now, I'm very much just like I want to work on something fun. I want to interact with the community. Um, I'm not taking this too seriously. It's something that I'm doing because I'm just enjoying myself, really. Thank you for the follow. Um, so yeah, I mean, at this stage, it's yeah, I'm literally just doing this because I think it'd be cool, and it's something to kind of like motivate myself and try new things in the meantime. So yeah, the idea of this is like there's going to be this character, and they're almost think of them maybe like an assassin or something. And it's like a very grotty kind of dystopian city, and there's going to be the main character is going to be sitting where are we? Going to be sitting on these pipes, and they're going to have like a little holographic thing on their wrist, and they've got some kind of like they've got a call from someone, and they've got to go from A to B. I don't. I'm just giving it a very vague plot. I don't want it to be too like narrative driven because I don't want to get overcomplicated. And there's enough context in there to give you some idea of a narrative. That's the idea. Keep it simple. Um, but the idea is they've got to go to this bar, which is going to be in like I don't know, say like 8 levels lower in this building, and they've got to go like they've been called for like a hit or some kind of assassination, and they're just basically moving their way through. Like there's going to be a lot of like police kind of like scavenging the area trying to look for him, and they're just basically what he's the character is working their way through the environment, maybe like takes out a couple of guys down the path, and then makes their way into the bar where it's like all barriered off kind of thing. And there's like, maybe some hitmen out the front, kind of like, keeping on guard and letting this person in. So that's the narrative. And yeah, it's going to be very rhythmic based. So all of the animation, I've deliberately timed different stages of these beats, which is why it's so slow right now when you play it. There's going to be a lot of action that happens in these moments. There's going to be so much animation involved, but I'm deliberately trying to keep each almost like cutting different beats of the scene into different chunks based on the rhythm of the animation of the music, because this is all very envisioned in my mind. Um, so yeah, as we're playing through this, for instance, you'll hear there's like different escalations of the sound. So as we just play this, so here on whenever you hear a bong, that's like the next stage of the animation progressing. So you want to get this idea that it kind of builds up, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it gets crazier each time, until it comes to like a wrap up by the end. So whenever you hear that bong, it'll be like the next stage of the animation. So we'll play this as we go through. So you hear this like I've cut up the song so it hits certain levels. So you'll hear that and it's getting bigger and bigger. You hear where it goes there? And so then you hear the rhythm changes. So like you could play with so many rhythms in this. It's very like 4/4. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4. But you could do so many rhythms in that. You could do like a kind of thing. And I want to synchronize different rhythms. What I'll probably end up doing is actually recording my voice, trying to hit different rhythms through those moments, and then animate to that rhythm to try and get different textures along in the animation of the character like traversing and then trying to hit those beats. So you see where it goes ba ba bum ba ba bum, and so like they would land on those moments. It's like da 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 ba ba ba, like as they jump and land into those beats. Even like you might hear this. I don't know how good the sound quality is, but listen to where it goes. Do you hear the bass where it goes boom and it kind of like drops? Do you hear that? And it's just as he goes over the table. So the idea is as he runs, he's going to hurdle over the table, but land his feet on the chair. And as the chair drops, that's going to be when you hear the boom as he like lands. It goes boom, and then hurdles into the next thing. You hear that again? The like 808 comes and goes boom as he like swings and drops around. If you think this is a cool idea, do let me know. Or if you're like you're going crazy, I don't have a clue. I know it's hard to envision at this stage; it's so ambiguous. But if you think this is a cool idea, let me know because I want to I want to try and bring this to completion, and hopefully it's something that other people also enjoy. So here it goes. Bum. So when it goes, there it goes. Bum. I had the idea that he's going to jump, come down, and then you hear the swings, and there's going to be like these apexes where it goes. Okay, jump off the wall. And then this bit where it's bouncing. And you hear that what coming up again is where I'll show you the character in a minute, but he's got this cyborg arm, which you'll see here. You can see the left arm is like the cybernetic arm. So when he comes down these panels, he's going to be like neon panels, and I'm going to have him like the claw grab into the neon, and he's going to grind down, and all these sparks are going to fly out and like do these little like little like short circuits. Then he's going to jump, grab onto the under of these stairs, swing forward, drop and land heavy onto this car, hurdle over it, and then drop down, swing under this billboard, hurdle over, come down, swing, and then land and do like a roll and tuck. And then this is going to be the doors of the bar. There's going to be these bouncers out the front here, and then the doors is going to go, and then he's going to walk through, and then it'll cut. Yeah, I know. Like, it's gonna be a long process. So I wouldn't. All I'll say is don't expect anything finished anytime soon. This is going to be a long process. I think I have a very clear vision in my mind, and it's hard to convey right now. But it'll be I think some people will enjoy it. Like I've got a few references of different things, style references here. So I'll bring these up. But these are like for color palettes that I have in mind. So I want to be very. I don't want to be. I want to have some creative freedom, of course, but I also want to be very true. I want the references to be quite obvious. I'm not trying to pioneer some kind of new style here. This is very. I'm doing this very much from a nostalgic perspective. So I love these oil paintings. I actually got to see some of these oil paintings for real. This is for Akira, but I got to see some oil paintings at an exhibition for Ghost in the Shell, and honestly, it's one of my like favorite things that I've ever experienced. It was incredible. So you'll also notice here that you've got these very clear like light strips that go through, and as I'll show you this image here, you'll notice there's these light strips on different parts of the character. And so as the character's traversing, I've already planned how I'm going to execute this, but I'm going to do some tracking, and I'm going to create these light strips that come from the character's body. So as he's swinging, traversing, you're going to see these light strips like bending and wrapping around the environment that have these like slow offset that like follows the character. So that should look pretty cool as well. Like we've seen this on a motorbike, but we haven't quite seen something like this on a character. Maybe a little bit. You saw it with Prowler in the first Spider-Verse. He has these like purple strips that kind of go off. I think the bike, and there's little bits on like some of the parts of his body, and I think that could be really cool. What else have we got here? So yeah, I'm looking at I want it to feel like something you might have seen in the 90s. Like I'm not trying. I want to kind of almost. I know there's like whole remasters, but I almost want to do like a demaster thing where you see all these like the grain, you like the lines aren't completely like crisp kind of thing. So that'll be really fun. Yeah. And I've got some like poses here. I'm looking at like how they're shading the characters and that kind of stuff. So I'm planning shading. I'm still on the fence whether I want to do this in Arnold Maya or if I want to do this in Blender. I'm under the impression that it's going to be. I want to learn some Blender at least for like the EV side of things, and maybe use and utilize some of those processes because I'll probably want to do a bit of 2D over the top as well. And when I did my Spider-Verse test, I pretty much did that all in Photoshop, and it was very painstaking. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Got some more like looking at the shading here. This is for like color values, seeing how they're like rendering hair and that kind of stuff. Um, just give me 1 second. Um, yeah, but they've got some like all this like these sparks and this kind of stuff. I want to be very like reminiscent of this, so this will be pretty fun. Um, what else have we got? So yeah, this is the environment that I'm using, which I found on CG Trader, I think, and it's like yeah, it was a great fit value, so I'll definitely credit that person. Um, yeah, this is the image that I found that I've like been cooking together so far. Um, yeah, it should be really fun. This is rendered in Arnold, and I was like playing around with textures. Um, this rig is done by Kjell Figgins, I believe. And it was actually a Symmetra rig, which I've kind of like customed. I've changed the textures to make it look a little bit more reminiscent of something more cyberpunky. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I'm quite happy with some of the colors yet and the mood boards. I've been playing around with colors, like I've done here, like looking at some of these colors. I want to make sure that the character stands out and is like very distinct from the background. And so I'll be looking at colors and like trying to think about color theory as I'm going through some of that. Um, yeah, these are just some of the little renders that I've been playing with. But that's kind of like the early inspirations that I've done for it so far. We can go a little bit into animation reference. So I've been collating quite a lot of different things right now. What else have we got in here? So yeah, this is some of the clips that I found, which I thought were pretty cool. So this is by a parkour group called Storo. They do loads of different challenges and cool stuff. But yeah, I've got lots of different clips in here. I'm really a big fan of all the stuff these guys do. Yes. So I want to kind of do an exaggerated version of something like this, but maybe push it a little bit here and there. See how he hurdles himself off the edge. It's crazy. Lots of different swinging stuff. But yeah, it should be fun. Yeah, I'd love to hear more of your guys' ideas. Like, definitely start. I'd love to hear a bit more of you guys interact in the chat. Like, it'd be really, really fun. Just what are you guys working on at the moment? Some of your favorite movies. Yeah, really, really nice to hear from you guys. I feel like I'm just rambling away. What other things have I found? Like, I was trying to look for. I have a very specific image in mind, and like I found some good stuff for like sliding down this building here. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, all of this stuff is really cool, and these are just little references that I found. We weren't even gonna... So yeah, what I'm going to be doing today is I can show you a little bit more of the rig that I've been not put together, but here we are. So this is one of the different textures I have. Yeah, this rig is really great. I played around with a lot of different ones that I've trying to find online. Something that I think is going to be versatile, but also I really like how this is a little bit more like body mechanic driven. Like I can work with the spine a lot more here, but also gives me some flexibility to like squash and stretch this, push this around where I need to. It has some really nice sculpting abilities as well. Got some cool like cybernetic arm in here. So like I think this could be really fun to play with. And you'll see like there's lots of different glowing things on him. Um so like you've got these like glowing neon things on the boots here, and these are the things that I was thinking of using as the main light strip. So whenever the arm, like the leg is kicking around, you're gonna see these like swerving light ribbon strips kind of bending around and stuff. Should be really fun. Um, yeah, this is like one of the earlier stages of the rig. I think I have. Let's go into the look dev one. I think this one's a little bit more close to what I landed with. Yeah, this is the pose that I made for the character. It's pretty fun. I was just testing the rig, seeing what poses I could get out of it. But yeah, I'll need to plug in some of the other characters as well. You don't want it to be too story driven, but with all the things you're saying about it, it sounds like there's a lot of story about it. Little things together make it big. Yeah, for sure. Like I don't. What I mean is, there's not going to be like some crazy storytelling, emotional kind of stuff in there. I don't want people to like take this out of a bigger proportion. It's a very much like a single concept, if that makes sense. I'm not thinking about think about too heavily, but I want to make sure that like I do have some level of narrative, enough to drive it and like incentivize the audience to want to be intrigued to see where it goes. You know what I mean? I want there to be some kind of beginning narrative that kind of plays through the middle, and then it kind of wraps up by the end, but it's still relatively basic. Um, I'm not going to be, it's not like some broad arc that happens throughout. It's very much like A, B scenario. But yeah, it's not going to be like too in depth, if that makes sense. But I do want to still be thinking about who the character is, that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, but yeah, this is a pretty great rig to work with, and yeah, you can see here now it's got the hair that I was intending and that kind of stuff. So, oh, that rig definitely needs a reset in there. Yeah, this will be fun. I think it'll be a fun thing to play around with. So, at this stage, really, that's as far as I've got with the project so far. Like you see, as you can tell, it's very early concept. So it's not going to be, we're not going to be animating today. So sorry to disappoint if anyone was here for that. This is very much the planning stages, but also it's so important. I feel like sometimes planning is disregarded to a degree, and really planning your intentions is something that I've been learning more as I've been moving into film and higher quality animation stuff. Your intentions are so important. And so at this stage, even when I did like my Spider-Man personal test, there was a level of improvisation involved that naturally happens as you're progressing through. At the same time, I want to have at least the foundations built to really have a clear intention and plan, especially when you're like thinking about I'm working to sound here, right? So there's going to be so many different things that I need to think ahead in. So that's a really big part of this. And so yeah, at this stage, I thought it'd be cool to show the planning process. So you might see me doing a couple of thumbnails today, doing a little bit of reference, like collecting, that kind of stuff, editing. We're mostly going to be doing a bit of editing because that's where I was leaving off from. So you'll just see me like cutting up footage, which isn't all that exciting, but it's still kind of cool to see, I guess. It might be, some people might find this interesting. We might do a little bit of like I say, some thumbnailing, that kind of stuff. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is you'll probably hear me scrubbing through audio a lot as well. So I'm sorry if that's gonna get annoying for people. I might turn off music at some point, but as you can see, I can show you actually the play blast that I was working from, because let's go into if you want to see a little bit more of the animation side, let's actually jump into the animation scene. So let me just whip that up quick. Where are we? Layout. So yeah, when I'm thinking about my staging, which is the first thing I did before I even started thinking about the pacing or the timing of things, first of all, I'm not creating this scene from scratch. You know, I'm not planning the environment. And it was the same with that Spider-Man test. So it's like, how do I create a path that the character is going to traverse that's also interesting and is not repetitive and gives me some flexibility to play with? So as I was going through this, it was very much looking at the environment, saying, oh, what could I do with this? And then trying to coordinate some camera angles that I'm going to traverse the character through. And there's like a whole theory that we can talk about with camera, and it'll probably change naturally with time. I'll make it a lot more dynamic as I start animating it, I imagine. But this is like early concept and initial planning for layout. So yeah, we'll go through a little bit of that together, and it should be really fun. I think what I have missed the most in my own stuff is the intention at the start. Making up as I go has worked, but it only gets you so far. Yeah, absolutely. And you can create some really cool stuff that way as well. Like, I think it's more, the more intention you have when you're communicating to your audience, I feel like the more it's going to resonate, or it'll come across, like your intentions and your initial concept is just going to come across and communicate a lot clearer. And also, the more you brainstorm at the beginning, the more you're going to elevate the shot as a whole. And so really trying to not wing it as you're going through too much, I feel like is going to help. So it's always good to do, you know, it's like doing your due diligences. I think helps a lot. It's taken a while to load the scene. I didn't realize it was that heavy, was it? Let's have a quick look. Oh, it's doing something. Here we go. It's a big old scene. It's a big boy. So let's have a look. I want to make sure that's right. This is funny, right? So much of this is a big set. Like, you're gonna see a lot of background with this in the end. If I just go out here, just pull it out. This is the main. Believe it or not, this whole environment here is actually the small region of this environment, which is insane. This has like, maybe in its full thing, think of something like it's almost like how do I describe it? Hey Veronica, she's in. One of my favorite followers coming in. Hope you're good, Veronica. Yeah, so yeah, this is like this really big district. And there's so many different buildings, and there's probably about 18 of these, you know, like there's a big wall that goes around it, kind of like an Attack on Titan kind of like big fortress kind of thing, these huge walls. So this is a big and dense environment, so it takes quite a long time to load it in. But this is the earlier like, yeah, this is like the close-up foreground elements that are gonna happen. Yeah. This is a big old environment. So yeah, essentially I was looking through this environment. Like, I didn't even have initially where I was gonna place this to begin with. So I was like, okay, how can I utilize, I might shift this around to make some cool background elements. You know, you don't really see these windmills or any kind of this stuff in a lot of the shot that in its current stage. So I'll probably shift things around and make it cool for the background, anything like that. I can add references, any little nods or Easter egg things that I want to add in that are like resonant of like Akira or Ghost in the Shell or The Matrix, that kind of stuff. So yeah, essentially what I did was I would look through this environment and say, okay, where are they going to start and where are they going to finish? And I thought, do I do like someone climbing or descending? And I was thinking, at least for like keeping the momentum going down an environment feels right to me. Doing too much climbing requires a lot more weight, unless they're like really projecting off of things. So I thought naturally, if I want to ground this a little bit more, then yeah, going down makes sense. And I started from there, and then I was like, okay, naturally, where could this character be traversing this scene? I knew I wanted to have a variety of actions, right? I want to have some swinging. I want to be like tucking through things, like do some drops, do some grabs, do some like cool landings and twists, that kind of stuff. So I started off here, and another part that I wanted to like reference is, so there's a really cool shot in The Matrix, right, where you're looking at a TV, and the camera closer to the TV, and then it actually goes through the TV, and then into like CCTV footage, and then goes into the scene that continues. And I love shots like that. They do something similar to this in Harry Potter, where you're looking through the wardrobe, and then you actually go through the mirror of the wardrobe and into the scene. Like you go through the reflection, and this isn't quite the same thing as that, but I have like I wanted to do a little nods to that. So I can probably bring up the scene because I want to show you guys. It's just a really cool shot. It was in The Matrix interrogation scene. I'll just bring that up here because there's a really cool. Here we are. So it's this shot here in The Matrix, and it starts off. You see like all of the like the lines, all of the like distortion starts to come in. You can see it start to wrap, and then it goes into the camera, like it goes into the screen, and then you see the like little. Do you see where it starts to like ripple and bend out? The lines start to pull out, and then goes into the actual shot. And I thought that was really cool. I really like this shot. So I wanted to do something to resonate something to that. And so I'm almost doing the reverse. Thank you for the follow. So I've essentially done something like that, but the opposite. And so if I show you the edit quickly that I've made, the intention is that we're starting here, and the lines are actually going to do the reverse of that. So we start looking into a screen, and we start to pull out of it, and then the lines start to like almost align. It's going to start off super distorted, like with that like bended lines, and it starts to straighten up as we pull out. And then as we begin to pull out, so right now we just got this very abrupt cut here. And then it goes dong. And by that time, when you hear that beat of the dong, that's when we're going to start to pull into the environment. And it's actually going to pull out and then wrap around the side of the screen. And this is actually the CYBERPHONK and everything is going to be a billboard in the environment. And then it's going to pull out and wrap around. And then it's going to start to reveal the character and the environment they're in. And so as we're coming around here, you can see where I've got this camera where it starts up here. It's going to pull out. The camera is not polished or anything like that, obviously. It's very early conceptual stages. And so as it's coming around here, it's going to reveal the character. We could probably bring up a side here. Let's do that with the camera so you can see it. As we're coming around, it's going to reveal the character, and they're going to be like, you know, in a cool pose on this piping. They're going to have they're looking at their wrist. There's going to be a little projection on the cyber thing. Maybe it's in his hand. He's like this, and you see like a projection coming out, and it's going to be like someone on a call, and it's going to be and like suck into the hand. I might do some 2D work there for the person on the phone call, and it like goes inside the cyber like hologram goes into his hand, and then I might need a longer beat in here. This is the restriction, right? This is the challenge, because I have all of this choreographed to music. So I have time restrictions of where the animation that I'm intending needs to sit inside those beats. And I can't spend too long on something or maybe go too fast. And I'm going to have to stretch out a performance, you know? I think a lot of it's going to be, how do I make this? Like, I imagine it's going to be harder to get the actions shorter. I think it's going to be the challenge. So there's going to be a lot of stylization to a degree in the animation itself to like make sure I'm hitting beats. So it's going to be very snappy, and it's probably going to hit an accent into poses, then hit out again. There's probably going to be a lot of cool frame by frame, like where I'm starting to smear things maybe here and there, but try and do it in a way that still feels can still feels like inspired by those old 90s animes. So as we're going through this, it's going to have this beat here where we reveal the characters looking at their hand, the hologram, and then as we jump away here, we're going to have this, it hops onto this piping, jumps off, like does a little anticipation, comes down, and then hurdles out and does this big like 360 somersault backflip, lands, rolls out, and slides down. This is going to be like a glass panel here. I'm going to make a little glass sheen on this little like plant thing here, and he's going to slide down, come push off and hurdle and do a big dive leap, and then come off here, grab onto the wiring, and this wiring I'm probably going to have some like little electric, like you can see like an electric what would you call it, like there's a current going through the wiring. I'm going to have to rig the wiring for this. It's a very ambitious project and it's going to be a long process, so you probably see a lot of streams of this slow, like progressively over time. I don't know how often I'll do the streams, but I'll try and do them where I have some time. And a lot of the interactions are going to happen from the cybernetic arm, so anything where it could potentially damage you otherwise, like, you know, with an electric current, you could probably absorb that in your hand if you have like a prosthetic arm. And so he's going to hurdle, grab onto, it might be a she, I haven't decided on gender yet, but hurdles, grabs onto the wiring, and he's going to swing like around the piping, maybe do some kind of somersault where she hurdles, kind of comes around and loops around the thing. I'll play with some cool rhythms in here, I imagine, to try and vary it up. But he's going to swing around this, and obviously the camera's going to be tracking the action. And then we get to this stage, going to jump off, going to drop down. I may even do like a double jump in here to change the rhythm, so it like lands on this railing and then hops. I haven't decided yet. Maybe you could even play with the shutter, you know? Like, we have so much room that we can be creative here. This is why I love this environment. There's so many different parts that we can just play with. So, as we're coming through here, let me know if my audio, if my mic's too loud or too quiet or anything, or if it's, like, hitting too hard in your ears. Like, make sure the quality's good. I don't want to annoy anyone. Or if the music's too loud or whatever. So as we're coming down here onto this ice cream cone, he's going to slide, roll into this. I don't even know if I will do a roll here. Maybe he just catches himself. But then he's going to jump over here. He's going to hurdle over the table, land onto the chair. It's almost like a, I don't know, very reminiscent. I'm glad the audio is good. Cheers. Thanks for letting me know. So yeah, like, obviously I'm going to have to rig a little bit of this stuff. Some of it's going to be more basic than others. But like, as it comes down, he's going to land on the chair. And like, I can probably move that pivot so you can get the idea. But the chair's going to come down and land onto, like, on the beat. It's going to land and go boom. Or like, I think it's like a boom kind of thing as we come down. And then he's going to grab onto the railing and he's going to literally hurdle himself over and then wrap around and tuck, like, thread the needle through this piping. And then grab onto some of this railing, maybe this pipe. I'm going to have to move some of the railing a little bit to stage it clearer. And then he's going to throw himself, grab onto this, start doing a little bit of balancing as we wrap around this pole. And then he's going to jump down at this stage. I might even maybe make this wider. I might make this stage of the animation wider, so that what I intend to do. Oh, I just see here. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments. For rigging the world props, whenever you get to the new one, would you go through the process of separating and putting it into groups, all that kind of stuff? Yeah, I probably would. Like, but I think a lot of the environment's going to, for the most part, be rigid. So there's only been certain moments where I'm going to have to skin it, like the piping and the railing. For example, that part's a little bit more, like, there's different dimensions that are going to happen through that piping. So I'm gonna have to. I'll probably end up remodeling that section so that it's a completely straight cylinder with loads of subdivisions, that kind of stuff, and then skin it so that I can add controls and pull it around like an IK chain kind of thing. And then that way I'll ripple as he's swinging. I'll ripple him so that some of that momentum and that weight as he pulls around is gonna like yank on the cords kind of thing, and maybe even like get some tension in there. Yeah, I'll skin it. Oh, what do I mean by skin it? Sorry, so as in like weight paint. So in rigging, you have to tell the computer how much influence that control has over different edges and vertices of the object. So you know, if you didn't skin it, for instance, it would either have that control would either have no influence over the object, or it would have complete influence and the entire object would move. Whereas skinning means you're telling that maybe this section of it moves this much, and then another section of the object only moves a little bit, and then maybe another section moves not at all. So yeah, that's like, especially for something like wires, you want to have a certain influence over a certain region of the prop. It sounds super exciting. It's awesome doing a project where you can play it with so many parts. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's really cool to play with the rhythm as well. Like that's the main objective of this. I want to animate something to very in sync with sound, but also add extra rhythms inside of it, but still hitting key beats. That's the intention. So I might have this thing where the camera's slightly wider, and we might see some police like scanning the area with like lights or something, or maybe some holograms. I don't know. It depends how ambitious this project gets. I might get some like droids or something that are like scanning the area. And the idea being that he's going to be looking over. He's going to be looking above on these police, like down here. Like, you know, if I were to duplicate this, there's going to be some like. Oops. There's going to be some police over here, like maybe in this area, starts here and starts coming around and scanning the area. And then the character's going to drop, swing over, drop down, maybe jump onto his shoulders. This is my intention. He's going to jump, climb onto his shoulders, kick off this wall, do a spin, like spin around, and then swipe his leg to kick him, like knock him down, and he's probably going to fall and drop down here. And then he's going to land onto this ledge, jump off over the billboard, come down, grab onto this, probably grind down the neon billboard. Sparks will start flying, comes down this one, drops, then hurdles, grabs onto the understairs, throws himself, falls down, lands on a driving car, who probably like yanks on the brakes or something. Like, you know, we'd probably get this thing where it comes down, goes, and like probably leans down, get some weight in there, get this thing where it kind of follows down, and that will naturally, oops, I accidentally saved it. That will follow the momentum of the character sliding and then throwing themselves over the other side of this billboard, come down, twist, come down here. Maybe there'll be some other characters here that are like, you know, these characters will just be standing in the nearby, like, you know, just doing the idle thing. Maybe one's got a drink or something, and he's gonna like, you know, dodge his way through the crowd. And they may gasp or something, like kind of thing, do a little take. You know, there'll be limited animation. And then we'll hurdle over the railing, grab onto this pole here, throw himself. So you probably end up getting an arc that comes down here, comes over, like it does a whoop, and then rolls in. Roll. And then the bouncers will be here, the doors will go and open up. And then you'll walk through. I may get, I don't know, I'll have to get some kind of environment for a bar at the back. It'll probably be blurry or something by the time I render it anyway. I don't know. Maybe I won't render it. I mean, you don't really see much depth of field in 90s anime. So you might see a little bit of like more simplified line work at the back or something. Again, I know this sounds like I'm getting ahead of myself, but this is very much like I say, I've already planned and visualized all of this stuff in my head. So like, even though it sounds like you have so many things to do extra before you get to this stage, I've already thought about it. Like it all kind of comes from this inception. Then I have a visualization and I work my way backwards. That's very much how I generally work. Like it was the same thing with my Spider-Man thing. It started off with a painting, and I was like, okay, I've done my like lighting keys for this. How could I actually make this move through a scene? And I work my way backwards. Um, sounds like something you'd want to learn. Uh, what part of that? What part was that? I'm curious. Oh, the skinning part. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I'm just working. I'm just figuring it out in my head. Yeah, the skinning is useful. I'm not. I'm by no means a rigger. When I was learning at university, that was one bit that I was like, okay, this is going a bit over my head at this stage. I started to do it a little bit. I can do incredibly basic like skinning, and I can make a prop with very basic controls. Ropes, yeah, skinning for ropes. Ropes are hard, and that's something that I'm probably gonna. I might even have to look into some resources potentially. I don't know. Oh, if I'm struggling to rig it, I may just look into some resources online, see if there's a prop rig I can purchase. At this stage, like this is a passion project that I don't mind investing small amounts into. Like I bought the set and everything, so yeah, I'll try to be efficient where I can, but for the most part, I'm gonna just try and use free resources. Um, but it's like I say, it's just something I wanted to do for myself to kind of motivate myself. Do something. Not the only thing that I really feel like I'm bringing to the table in something different with this is the idea of maybe playing more to music. And I don't know, like, do you guys know? Give us a play. Oh, you want to hear it? You want to see it again, Chester? Yeah. Good to see you here, dude. Where do you get the environment from? I'll also find a resource for that. Just give me 1 second. I'll have to backtrack a little bit. Here we are. So this is the pack that I bought. It's called Cyberpunk City, and who's made this? I mean, this is their profile, Car Cooper 9. It's awesome. Like this doesn't describe how good. Like these images don't even justify how good the full environment is. This thing is huge. Um, and you can duplicate a whole bunch of this stuff. There's loads of cool walls. I'll probably make some. I may even paint some backgrounds for it at the back. Yeah, dude, it is sick. I was maybe looking for. I've been looking for a long time. Let's just say that maybe a couple of months trying to find a cool environment to inspire and work with, and this is amazing. And it's like for $20, it's a steal in my eyes. Um, um, yeah. So what I'm just going to do at this stage, now that we've kind of gone through it all, that I've just been rambling about the ideas, is we're just going to go into the edit. So this is like the play blast. Now that I've gone through like the layout itself and everything, I've got all the objects there. Yeah, I can show you the play blast quick, and you'll just see how fast it was. So like when I was blocking out my layout, it's like super quick. I did not care about timing at all, and it's like whoa, like this is what the hell's going on basically. Um, I pretty much like every like 4 frames or something, I would just go through. Wanted to do yeah, just reading everyone's stuff. Yeah, it's really cool. Um, yeah, so at this stage, you saw that I had the like my layout and everything, and if I were to go into the camera here, you can see where I've like a lot of it's animated. There's a couple of bits where it's like I've stretched out a little bit at a time to fill it through, but the ball, the main keys, before I need to like add a couple of little in betweens in there. A lot of this stuff is like a lot of it is blocked out so that you can kind of see the earlier stages of this. I've like blocked the camera and the ball at the same time, so I'm hitting key beats, and then I've just added a couple of in betweens where I can to make sure that I'm staging the character in a way that you can track it. Like if I were to quickly zoom through this, for the most part, you can track the ball, and this is going through quite a fast. I'm going through this pretty quick, but like for the most part, you can track the ball through the scene. And in terms of like cinematography, when you're doing action, it's good to play around with depth. You can see like I'm playing with depth here. But generally speaking, you want the action to guide the camera. And so when I start refining this and doing the staging and the posing and stuff, that's very much my intention. I'm also thinking like with action, this is a one take, like this is a one shot, a one-er. So there's not going to be any cuts, but when you're doing cuts, you want to make sure that usually if it's very fast action, a lot of your staging is going to be in the center of frame, so that's easy to track, and it doesn't like really jar the audience if you're like having to quickly move your eyes around. But because I'm trying to stage this in a way that's very easy to follow the ball, to follow the main character through the environment, and then I'll do little storytelling things in the back that aren't distracting. Um, that's kind of the intention. So yeah, that's kind of how I set up the layout and everything. Um, and then yeah, this is where I've kind of got to. So I got that. I have my sound, my music, and then have the play blast. I basically can see this is the actual layout through here, and I started to stretch out different parts. Like I found like the key moments where the next stage happens. So like this whole section here to this point is like what I consider one section. Like almost, I split it up into like imagine they're different shots, and these are like each shot hits a certain beat in the music, where it's like this is now the next stage of the music, and that's initiated by when you hear the in the sound. You hear the bang, and it's like this is when the next section of the shot happens. Um, so yeah, it'll be pretty cool. I think, hopefully. So now that I've got the general beats happening through the shot now, what I'm doing is I'm starting to collect reference. So you saw the reference, a little bit of the reference I collected earlier. You just answered what I was about to ask. Action to influence the camera is trying to keep in the 90s vibe style. I feel like there's a lot of sways and slow cameras and fast action, fast to slow action. Yeah, this is the thing, because if you look at most 90s anime, there's not many moving cameras, because if you're going to really stay true to that style, what I mean is like moving through 3D space, because they couldn't is all 2D, right? They were using oil paintings at the back. So if they would always use a lot of parallax to kind of like move different like planes of the scene almost. So that's the only real part of this that's not going to feel too tight. This is where it's going to start to feel a little bit more something like Into the Spider-Verse, right? Where you have a background scene. I'm going to animate the character on twos and different frame rates. I've already written a script which is going to screen match the character, so that whenever a key is held, it's going to hold on screen space. That way, it still feels a little bit more reminiscent of like a 90s anime. Like for instance, a lot of Akira, some of the action is animated on ones, but also a lot of it's animated on twos. And we're actually going to go into that together. I'm going to do a live stream where we're literally just going to look at things like Ghost in the Shell and Akira, and we're just going to look at how they've animated it and frame through it, and then try and see how, like, what kind of visual language and style they're using, and then try and keep my animation when I'm animating it. I want to kind of stay a bit more in line with those rules, right? So that when you watch it, you're like, oh, this kind of feels like nostalgic. It feels like something like Akira. Obviously, like a lot of the visual stuff is going to feel like that anyway, because there's very, very clear, distinct references to that. I even want to like go in and paint, like in Photoshop, like digitally paint a lot of these backgrounds to look like oil paintings. This is a big project. You can see that my ambitions are already getting bigger. But this is literally what I did with the Spidey thing as well. The Spider-Verse shot was like 16 seconds in the end, and it took me over 3 months to make. So yeah, I mean, this is gonna have its own challenges, but I want to make it feel like the background is oil painted, and then the foreground elements are feeling more like a cell. That's the intention. The only difference is those oil paintings are going to be moving more three-dimensionally. They're not going to be like cameras that are very like one track on a plane. So there's going to be like, it's almost blending a 90s anime style with something that you might see from a more like hybrid 3D, 2D like animation you might see that's a little bit more modern. That's the intention. Yeah, kind of like Arcane, but with that more like 90s cell animation on top rather than like 3D spline grounded kind of stuff. Yeah, with like a hint of like cyberpunk aesthetic on top. So yeah, it'll be fun, I think. I'm just like this. So even at the beginning here, I'm thinking about rhythm in the back of my mind as I'm playing through this. Let's turn the lo-fi down a little bit. So you can see how when it has that dong, I've deliberately timed the reference so that his foot lands on the accent. That's not always going to be the case, but it's a good base to work from. I'll probably add some extra rhythms and textures over it, but the core beats, I want to make sure that I'm hitting so that you see it. Like when you watch it, you definitely register, oh, the action is landing on the rhythm. This is going to be really fun to animate. So this backflip, twist, and land. I love this action. This is all from Storo. It's so cool. So the intention is the character's going to turn here, hop onto this little ledge, jump down, land on this beam down here. Like it's going to land on this beam. Then that's going to do the wind up here. So this pose, going to wind up, do a big spin, accent, hit this apex that comes here, land down, and then I'm probably going to have him come closer to the camera here. So he's going to come around into this screen left screen space, and then he's going to dive. So he's going to land here, run toward the camera, glide into a slide. So he might do something like, imagine he's going to run into here, but his leg's going to kick forward, like he's going to kick his leg forward, and his foot's going to guide the audience's eye around, because obviously you think that they're going to have these light strips that are going to be on the feet as well. This big line's going to zoom past the front of camera. Here's for the follow. And it's going to glide down in and slide down this little beam here. And that's as far as I've got in terms of reference. Then he's going to hurdle, grab onto this. Like there's certain areas where I feel like I'm just going to, like an Attack on Titan. What reference are we talking about with Attack on Titan here? I'm curious. Oh, where he glides down the rooftop? Is that what you're talking about? I'm really curious if that's the thing with Levi. Where he does like a foot slide, right? Down the... We gotta bring that up now. Like, that is such a sick sequence. If I just do... Attack on Titan... Yeah. Yeah, it is sick. You're talking about this, right? Hold on. With Kenny. Where is it? There's a roof slide, a roof tiles glide. It's so sick. There it is. Yeah, very similar. So one of the clips that I have here is there is a swinging part. So now we're getting on to the part where we hurtle over and we're going to start doing some like some swinging across these the piping. So the cables. So I need to find uneven bars. Here we go. So I'm going to grab this ref. I'm going to throw that in here. And I found this reference of in the Olympics, this person doing bar swinging. So let's mute that ref, right? All the sound. I just want to find the section of the clip. So where are we? There's a very specific part of this reference which I want to make sure that I get, because there might be a part. There's a part in here where she does a twist, and I want to see how her hands twist and she swings her body around, because that's going to be useful for me as I'm doing breakdowns. So there's a very specific part in this. There's so many cool actions in here that you know that can help inspire you. I might even be able to do a backflip around here, twist and grab potentially, or I might just do it for clarity's sake. I might just hit a pose, do a leap, grab, and swing in. I might keep that part clearer for the transition. Again, we can experiment. But the ref is here if we need it. At this stage, I'm not going to use that for ref though. I'll keep it simple. Start simple. If you need complexity, I'll layer it in after. So she's coming through. This is pretty cool, right? Like, could be pretty sick to do a transition here that maybe comes to camera. So we do one swing, it goes away. Or like in this case, imagine the camera's on the other side of this pole, comes towards us, kicks up, somersaults, comes around, and then goes into the next swing here. So I'm going to cut this up for now. Grab. We'll play through. There might be another swing that we like. So we got that section there. What else have we got? So this is the other thing I was thinking of in here. So just seeing how she twists, grabs around, comes through, grabs, and then continues. Like, we got a slightly more... Like, this is a... I would say because of the axis that we twist on here, this is slightly more simple of a, like, transition. This is cool. So you got the grab, foot in, comes around, and then kicks up. Like, how cool is that? What? That has such a cool rhythm to it. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because you have these different beats, right? These different accents. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so you have like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could do some really cool, like, to that rhythm. So you have that bum 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 bum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? So you do like a bu 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 bu. So maybe we use that, you know? Because I know that she comes across here as she comes through and grabs onto, like, her trajectory changes forward here. But we might actually, as she comes up, I can change when she lets go so that her apex suspends her in midair. Maybe the angle she comes across at as she kicks through here, maybe this angle is slightly more favoring to one side so that her trajectory, instead of going forward, goes across the beam so that we can continue traversing across this line. So I'm actually going to use this ref. I think this has a really cool rhythm to it. So we have this here from this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's take that. I think those two are going to be enough complexity for that traversal scene. So let's move those across. Because I think this is cool as well. Like, this is still specific. This wrap, come around, foot, wings. Like, this will also create a really cool, like, diagonal. Look at the tracking of the arc of the foot. So I could do some pretty cool diagonal, like, wrap straight to a wrap again. So it creates, again, this is the other level of challenge, right? So if I'm going to do this intentionally, I want to create poses and breakdowns that create really cool graphic shapes for the lines that are going to, like the Akira lines that are going to go around the feet. So if we just reference back to this again, if we look at our reference, see we got these lines, these strips, and you see how these are creating these lines on screen? I want to create something where I can use these lines. Like I've deliberately tried to create these lines in a very graphical, simplistic nature that have this cool like rhythm to them. And I want to try to animate something that both looks interesting, has a rhythm to it, but also creates these lines on screen that as it tracks through space look really cool and graphic in their own like wrapping around the environment. So I may end up changing some of these breakdowns, even though they'll be based on reference. I may change some of the breakdowns if it's in aid of creating a cool graphic shape on screen. So if you were to pause at any moment, it just looks really aesthetically pleasing. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be definitely an interesting one. A lot of challenges, and yeah, I may be way out of my depth here. But if I pull it off, I mean, in my head, if I can pull this off, I would definitely be proud of the final result. But it's a marathon. I'm not planning on like just grinding this out. I want to take my time with it, and I'll be probably doing a lot of it on stream as well. I'm not going to be doing this in the back burner. So whenever I work on it, I'll just literally be live streaming, and then whoever wants to like stop in can see what I'm, getting up to. So we have these rhythms, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like there's so many different ways you can play with the tempo of that rhythm as well. So I'm gonna take these sections because I would like to do 2 swings in here. So we do maybe something like that. Again, you're gonna hear me just doing a lot of stupid sounds. And by no means am I musical. Like I don't have any musical background. I don't play an instrument, so I'm going to be butchering a lot of this, and it's going to be probably cringy watching me like figure out rhythm. But yeah, this is part of my process. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to put these through this section, and then I want to try to retime them to something that yeah, hopefully feels a little bit in line with the moment. Yeah, but. What? It's tricky because we've got these. Thanks for the follow. What? Go. Go. I'm gonna retime this. So I can already see 1, 2, 3. So we have the 1, 2, 3. So this is a little bit more of like So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Cause see how the accent of the legs comes in early. So we have 1, body, leg, catch. So instead of like being 1, 2, 3, 4, it's a little samey right now, that rhythm. So I want to have like more like a So we have that we suspend on the third accent a little longer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or it could be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to play around with that. 1, 2, 3, 4 is still like you have that you're sectioning thing. So splitting off into 3 and then a 1 sounds more like there's more contrast, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm gonna suspend and maybe hold on a pose. It won't necessarily be this pose, but inspired by. So I'm gonna cut that up there, then go into the catch. So we want to speed up this for the accent on this part. 1, and then we're gonna slow down that part there. So I'm gonna grab my little retime. We got stretch rate in here, which is really cool in Premiere. So I'm just going to zoom in on this. Let's just pull this away for a minute so I can get a bit closer in here. So we want to speed up this part. Come on. There. And then 3. I'm going to slightly stretch this one out. And then we're going to make this faster again. So we'll see how that feels. Again, this is something that's really hard to teach. One of the people I'm teaching at the moment, I've been teaching them rhythm. And like we're doing something quite cartoony, but we're very like trying to get that rhythm working. And we've been doing that like recording voice method. But when he's been asking me like, how do we play around with the rhythm of this? It's like a lot of it, like when he's like, how am I making decisions of how fast or slow I want that to be? A lot of it is like, you know, you're interpreting things and it's all about your own, there's like a level of instinct and your own intuition that comes with that. So a lot of it comes down to feeling when it comes to those, like how you make those decisions. So when I'm going through this, I'm just going to be, let's just save a version of this before I go any further. Yeah, a lot of this will be interpreted with just my own feeling, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I want to hold in here for longer. So this section, let's stretch that out in here. And I want this to be faster. 1, 2, 3. And then down again. So it's this section that's going to stretch. Feeling and also feeling confident to fully commit. Yeah, absolutely. There is a level of like, you're making choices, but you're not doubting yourself. I think that's something you have to embrace that. You have to embrace the idea that you may not be making the right choice. And it's just, you got to try it, right? You don't know if it's going to work until you give it a go. So there is a level of like, I don't know how well this is going to play out, but you don't know until you try. So the feeling aspect of things is very much experimental. Like it's a, you just have to try. Yeah, this is way too long. But you can see the idea. Like, I'm stretching this out a lot. But we've gone too far with that. So let's just bring that back in. 1, 2, 3. We could probably make that slightly faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that needs to be slightly shorter. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on. Get that accent. I think we can, I don't want to make this a slow-mo thing, but I can read time, like, think about it from an animation perspective. The timing is there, the spacing, we completely change, right? So when I'm watching this reference, I'm not thinking, oh, okay, so that's exactly how my animation is going to look. Not at all. Our spacing, we can completely interpret ourselves. We can make that faster in that moment, like how tight that spacing is or how long that drags out for. We can completely change that. So all I'm thinking when I'm watching this reference, I'm not thinking about how that's going to translate on screen. I'm thinking about it rhythmically. So that's all I'm thinking about at this stage of timing. 1, 2, 3, 4. So maybe that works. Because as that comes through here, you can see where that apex happens, right? There's that suspended in midair. So as this comes through, it's like that kind of thing. So as this is coming through here, this transition, 1, 2, so we have that 1, 2, 3, 4. And that time here is going to be like an apex. So it's going to go woo, oof, and then come down again. I feel like a lot of times rhythm accidentally gets smoothed out because it can be scary to fully commit, especially for animators starting out. Yeah, for sure. It is, yeah, when you say smoothed out, I'm curious what you mean by smoothed out when you say like rhythmically. is as in like you try and hit an accent, but by the end of it, you kind of strip away a lot of that because you're afraid that you're not gonna. It's not gonna like register the action or something. Is that what it is? I'm kind of curious. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? I'm constantly telling myself to move less and stick to a pose. Dude, I feel that. I think that's my problem. Even when we were on Spider-Verse, that was one of the things that I felt like I didn't commit enough to, and I was afraid to do. Because I'm so used to like the past projects I worked on were so like transition based and grounded that I really struggled with that part. It's like Spider-Verse is very much like comic book based, right? It's like they were very much like, let's keep this to one pose. I'm not gonna start going into too much like development stuff or like I don't want to step into territory too much. But that's something I struggled with, was like really commit to just hitting a strong key, super tight spacing, like just hit it. And I think that's something I want to improve on and work on with in this. Like we have this rhythm and I want to have these really tight spacings, almost like it's the same thing with Bad Guys. We're studying the animation for that. The spacing on that is super tight and really just hitting those poses and making it super clear. And so I very much want to dial into that with this shot. I want to get a general timing for this. So we want to make sure that we initiate on the beat. 1, 2, 3, go. I hope that actually hits on the beat. Either side of it. That's convenient. Maybe a little earlier. So I need to I either hit into it faster. I want to get contrast, right? So let's make this slightly faster. Come on, no, wrong thing. Let's try that. There you go. I can tell already, whether this is going to look good or not, I'm going to have so much fun animating this. So that boom, when you hear that, that's what I'm going to have him land. Yeah, that's going to work. I'm going to slightly bring this earlier. But I think the actual overall rhythm of this section is already working for me. Like I have that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I might suspend this moment here a little longer, just to hit the accent where I want it. Because when it goes da 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 da, there's a little accent there. Do you hear that? Ba 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 ba. So on that da da, that's where I want to have the swing happen, so that we have the da 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 da. Apex hold on the down. Yeah. So this here needs to go on the Yeah. One, two, three, five. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here. So that's where I want to cut and then suspend that section for a little longer. I want to tighten up some of the spacing in this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's hard. I'm going to have to play around, like, just let me play with this for a second. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, but. 3, 4, 5. I want to take that section there. And I want to make this section here slightly faster. And then this bit slightly slower, so we suspend in here, I think. Maybe. Sorry if this is getting annoying for people in the stream. I can turn down the sound. Let me know if it's annoying you. This is just me playing with audio, so there's going to be a lot of looping. I can dial the sounds down on the music if it's irritating to listen to. That's too fast. 1, 2, 3. I want to hold this pose for as long as I can. Oops. So we need to grab that section there. And then hold it for longer. So we're going to make this slightly faster at the textures and then hold this beat. Here. So we're going to cut there. Take out this section. So I need to slightly make that longer. This makes this. And then I need to fill out that section there. There you go. That feels better. One, 2, 3, 4. There's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I almost need to turn off the audio anyway here to get the feeling of the rhythm. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So it's gonna go 1, 2, 3. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, da 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 da. It's a bit awkward. I need to make sure that I'm trying to keep it on rhythm. Let's listen to the audio again. Da, 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's awkward because it hits in the half beat, which might be okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not everything has to hit on the beat, but it'd be useful if it did. That works. Maybe I just need to hit into this harder. That's all it is. I just need to speed up. I think I just need to exaggerate the contrast in here, and then it might work. Just so we have that breathing room in between. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. Cool. Let's see how that plays now. I think it can work. It's going to be a lot of experimenting and planning with timing, even in poses and blocking. Like, that's going to be the more interesting part, I think, of this. But again, a lot of this is like intention paths and like figuring out rhythm. So it's definitely a work in progress. It's probably a bit painstaking to watch me do this, but let me know if you actually find this stuff interesting, or if you're like, this is kind of boring to watch. It's good for me to know, because I'm just going to stream the process so I have this all recorded. And then what I'll plan to do later is I'll probably create a video which is like encapsulating the main key beats of this. And then like the main key moments of the process. And then I'll be like, here's how I created this shot, and this is like my planning stage, and then I'll like edit into bits of like that's actually more interesting to watch rather than just me monotonously like scrubbing through to figure out rhythm. But some people might find the process cool. I'm glad you like it, Veronica. Sorry if it's, yeah, I'm sure there are some people in here that are like tapping out like, nah, this isn't for me. But I appreciate if you're sticking around and you find this cool. 5. Yeah. I think this is going to be fun. I can see it playing. Right, the next part is yeah. Because the thing is, I can also use the some of the little accents for like foot plants. The thing is also not all of the actions that are going to happen need to be from the character. So I actually want to talk about this because I find this really cool. There's a moment in, if you won't be able to tell now, if you haven't been able to tell already, I'm a big fan of Edgar Wright and his movies. So there's a moment in Baby Driver where, for context for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's like there's a car chase scene where it's all staged to music. And there were moments in the rhythm of the song where they wanted to add extra elements. So not, even though they filmed it live action, there are deliberate like parts in the foreground as the cameras would like rushing by that actually accent and brush past the screen on the beat of the music. And so there are like the actual sets, the environment is also participating in the rhythm of the song. And I want to try and add elements of that as well. So there are going to be moments in here where I'm going to try to, later in the process, I'm going to add background elements into the scene that are going to also be tying into the music. So I want to make sure that there's breathing room in the rhythm where the character isn't always like participating to the rhythm. So like there's going to be moments where maybe the character takes a little bit more of a backseat action wise, or like at least to the rhythm. So it's not going to be as textural and it's going to be a little bit more simplified. Where there's going to be other things that maybe start to incorporate into the foreground, maybe just momentarily, that are going to accent to that beat. I love these dramatic action shots that are super rhythmic based. Yeah, it's awesome, right? Like, for anyone who hasn't seen, especially Baby Driver, like he did it a lot with. He also did it in Shaun of the Dead. There's a whole choreographed action part there. I think they also did it in Kingsman. There's some really good rhythmic action stuff in there. What else is there? But Baby Driver is like probably the most. This every single song is choreographed to action rhythmic music. Like, how do I describe that? Every action is synchronized to music in Baby Driver. So if anyone who hasn't seen it and you like this kind of idea, definitely watch it. I need to rewatch it again, to be honest, just to study it. But yeah, big fan. So I could go about this action very simple, in the sense that you can see where the character's moving, right? He just goes down, hits the accent, hits another accent, hits another accent. But this moment here, that boom happens earlier than the beat, like the key beat. Yeah, that boom kind of thing. And so some of these textures, like the actual beat could hit on a swipe, it could hit on a foot plant, it could hit like a different action on the body that's not like the key thing, the key like accent. So maybe that is where the chair like hits the floor. So you have that boo gush kind of thing. And then it goes ba 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 boom. So that could be the down into the swing. Ba 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 ba. So that da, 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 is the climbing over the fence, right? Yeah, that's gonna be so cool. Yeah, I can see this part. This part here, I can visualize very clearly. The middle part of him descending that building, I'm not quite sure yet. But again, like I don't need a reference for all of these. Some of these moments I can thumbnail. I don't need the ref necessarily because they're so specific that it's going to be hard to find reference of, and I may not want to. Like, I can animate a lot of this just based on thumbnails because it's very clear in my mind and quite specific. And I could film some reference if there's anything that I find. I might just do those due diligence and like just film the reference, see if there's anything cool comes out of it. But a lot of that I think is going to be so specific that I'll just go in, thumbnail it, block it out, and it'll be there. The hurdle over the fence I could maybe do something for, but like I think that part I can rely a little bit more on my animation sensibilities because I have a very specific vision. But there are other areas like the descent here. I want to play around with reference a little bit, see what I can find. So what we're just going to do is we're going to look at some clips. Hopefully I don't get copyrighted for just, streaming some cool clips on YouTube. I don't know how that works. But I want to take away this for a second. We're going to look at some of the reference I've found so far and see if I can find anything cool. Find anything cool in my ref. I'll mute it because we don't need to hear all the rambling. We're looking specifically for anyone descending in general. There's a lot of descends, right? This is just showing them falling over. Let me just turn off. I don't need my mycene right now, and I can hear my CPUs going mental. Just give me a sec. We do not need to save. I didn't change anything, did I? No. I hope everyone's had a great weekend. Anyone been up to anything exciting other than what people have previously mentioned with like Spider-Verse stuff? I don't know if Chester's still here. He's probably tapped out now, but hung out with him for a little bit. It was good fun. Are you still at Sony at the moment, Tom? I know a lot of people have been moving around since Spidey. No, I'm back working on Paw Patrol. They had the best offer. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not. Sorry if that's if I've just said something. I don't mean to attack. I'm just curious. Like genuinely. It's really cool if they gave you the best offer. I don't know if you're just being sarcastic or not. It's hard to tell over a text, you know. That's fair. Like if you're oh, that's sick. No, that's awesome, man. Are you like leading there or souping or that's actually really refreshing to be honest, hearing TV like TV productions offering the best things. The reason I thought it's sarcastic is in my experience, a lot of TV productions don't offer the best opportunities. So at least when you've been doing long term. So unless it's like a really high up role. Yeah, so you're leading, right. Um yeah, so that's why I didn't I wanted to make sure. Sorry if I was if that felt like an attack. Uh that's cool. Yeah. Without the meetings and you still get footage. That's nice. So like you have your team, you can guide them. Spin Master's got some money. I guess like Paw Patrol's huge, right? So like even you might find this quite cute and it like might help inspire you. I obviously like a lot of kids like Paw Patrol. On my way through London Underground earlier today, they had like little flyers for like some kids TV shows. They had like Peppa Pig, and there's a kid who had a Paw Patrol backpack, and he was like yanking his mum's hand like Paw Patrol kind of thing, like pointing up at the billboards and stuff. So it's pretty cute. Try and see if there's any cool actions in here that might help inspire me. I can always make it up. I just don't have a clear vision for that section right now. I'm trying to think of the rhythm as well. Yeah, if I had to set in my brain virus upon the world. Brilliant. So you could do a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing on the rhythm. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could do do. We've already done like a 1, 2, 3, 4 on the swing. How could I vary it up? I mean, that's already like that's what the music does. The 1, 2, 3. at this moment. Just to clarify, I'm referring to this part here. There, bum, bum, bum. I'm thinking what I could do there. 1, 2, 3. Maybe the initial push off, like, because we have the on the land. Dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Even the rhythm is the bump 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. That's the rhythm of the song, so I can play with that. But trying to think if I want to land on all of those, or if I want to deliberately skip some. Dun, dun, dun. 1, 2, 3, 4. Imagine what it must be like for parent animators who have young kids they work on the shows with their kids obsessed with. No Escape from the Paw Patrol theme song ever. Yeah. I mean, I had some family members whose kids were really into Go-Jetters. And yeah, it was hard to escape Go-Jetters for a while. I could land a couple. I have an idea. Because I saw this window, right? So he could jump onto it. Dun. And he's standing on the door window, on the top of the door window as it comes around. So on that dum, the last accent. So you have the ba ba bum, and as he's going along the hold, then he goes down in here, so the camera will stay up for a bit longer. And then on this window frame here, he stands on it, and because of the momentum of his force, the door is going to then slightly swing around, and then after the accent, after the dun, as he glides around, then he drops ba 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 bum. Yeah, I think that'll work. I'm glad I got the recording, so I'm gonna forget this tomorrow. So on that part, maybe we could find anything specific for the ba-ba-ba-bum on the ice cream. So we need some kind of roll, or it's just on an object. So we can see if there's anything that I like that kind of feels like it could tie into ba-ba-ba-bum. Any objects? No, not in this area. This is cool. I wanted to use this at some point. It's so cool. So as he comes around here, he comes over, but then he like hops midway, comes down, hops, and then continues over. Pretty cool. Could that work? So yeah, because that has like a swing. So bum. So you could go, instead of going bum, it's bum. So you miss out the in-betweens, like the in-between beats. So instead of hitting all four, you go, instead of going, so you go bum. That's your rhythm, really. Let's try that. See how that feels, because I can time that. Dun, dun. So it was this clip here, and I've got to find that now. How far through are we talking? It's quite far in, wasn't it? It was seconds. Time code. 8 minutes in. So it's going to be around here somewhere. Was it there? Really nice cat passing there. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. So it's that. Grabs that section, bring that back. Da, da, da. In here. It's going to have to be slightly faster, I think. Slightly faster. It's so cool. Like, it's just, I don't know, I find this stuff very satisfying to watch when it's just like, so, it just flows so well. Still needs to be faster. Too fast, maybe? Yeah, it's too fast. Start earlier. Ooh, that's gonna be tight because he needs to traverse. Yeah, he's gonna have to do a lot of distance in that time period. Maybe he's gonna have to land down. I'm gonna get pretty creative with this, I think, when I start thumbnailing. As in, like, I'm gonna start defying some physics here a little bit, but I can do it if I justify that the cybernetic arm is really strong. So in here, because he's dropping down, I'm thinking, what would happen if he fell directly on his arm rather than landing on his feet? So here he comes down on that arm, then kicks off the foot around. Da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Da, 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 da. Yeah, it's gonna be. I might have to. I don't know. I might use this somewhere else. This is early idea because, like I say, I wasn't quite sure if I knew. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do for this section, and it's tight. The timing of it is quite a lot to traverse in a short space of time, and the idea of having the window glide across being so high, he hasn't moved much distance in that time. So what I might have to do is get the window and drop it lower so that by the time we have the window here, he's maybe already lower. I'm not sure. That's going to take some experimenting, I reckon. I don't quite feel like I've got that yet. Because on the here, he already needs to be on the ground and up again. I could probably do it. I reckon. I'll use it for now. If there's anything cool in here, then from there I'll take it somewhere. You know, I can push it somewhere else after. And then we have the boom. So we had the swing. The boom would probably be where he swings and dives in. As for the timing of that, it's quite slow right now. I don't know what you guys feel, but as it is coming around here, we have the bonk, and then... So this moment here is going to be suspended over the fence. So like a little apex where it comes over and goes doom, ga-dum. And the boom. Would you go faster through here? Or would you keep it like progressively flowing through the swing? Like would you keep it, in other words, like would you punctuate and like bolt through the thread the needle? Or would you keep that more like organically flowing through to make it feel more like a lucid transition, I guess? It's a tricky one. The playback on Twitch is a little jittery, so it's hard to tell. I don't know if it's like jittery or if I think it's that I've stretched the frame rate out of the play blast. I think that's what it is. If that's what's coming back, at least that will be a factor. I don't know if that's actually the... Yeah, like the frames are actually stretched. So yeah, I would probably need to spline it to fully ask the question. Like in Maya. I haven't retimed in Maya yet, so the frames are a bit off. Yeah, I think it does feel slow. Because you had the boom, right? You hear that rhythm. So you could do a boom, like a tuck slide kind of thing through there, and maybe this transition is faster. And then we come out the other side, or maybe the other accent. So you hear the boom go through, then out the other side again. There's like another little hit on there. Maybe that's where we come through. So this transition's a little faster, I reckon. So I could probably retime that on the layout pass. So here, we want to make this faster up to here. So that section there, we're going to cut that. And then we have here. So I'm going to retime this section here so that we make this faster and slower. Yeah, I think the dip under would feel nice faster, so you have that contrast. Awesome. Thank you, Veronica. So this, and we drag this out. Then there, we're going to accent down. This is a little faster. Let's go here. Yeah, then I need to really... I'm going to hold this section here. So I'm going to cut that up. Bring that back. So we hold this. So this boom moment goes faster. Yeah, this will be interesting to time. I've got to figure out the timing for this. Let's just speed this whole section up and see how it feels. Oops, wrong thing. This one. You've got to definitely exaggerate the timing. So that needs to be slower. Come on. Again, this is super loose, but when I go into retime it in Maya, it'll clean up a lot of this stuff. It's just super... I want to get the broad concept first. So that frame here, I want to hold this frame for as long as I can. So let's drag that out. That's our apex. I want to hold this. And then this transition here, let's grab that, make this slightly shorter, slightly longer on the other side. Yeah, I think that's going to work better. And then this needs to be much faster. So like here, so this section, oops. We're gonna bring here and we're gonna make that faster. There you go. Does that feel better? Slightly? And then that could be the scrambling to come around the other side of this pole here. I reckon I can do some kind of accent on a swing here, maybe. The only thing now is there's a lot of time before we hit the next bit here. That's the only hard part, right? There's a lot of... Maybe I can use this as breathing room. Like, this is that moment where we now take our eyes away from the main character. The camera comes wider, and maybe there's more like of the accents happening from below, where we see the police officers and the drones and stuff. And there's like more maybe the scanners go down, and it's just the character kind of climbing and wrapping their way around the pole. So this section here, I'm gonna cut from there, and we're really gonna drag this out. Yeah, I think that would be cool. The more I kind of piece this together, the more excited I get. Which is nice, because it's not always the case. But it almost... the shot kind of escalates and elevates as you progress, I guess. Like, it kind of almost uncovers itself. It just, like, it reveals more opportunities. Yeah, so this part here, I want to take longer on it. It's too fast right now that we've retimed a little bit of this. So I want to make this slightly faster and that bit slightly longer, so it's a more progressive climb through the pipe. So we want to spend a lot longer here. This drop needs to happen earlier. So this needs to happen around there. The drop. Yeah. Then we can stretch that out for the next beat. And I want to make this slightly faster. So maybe I want to spend a little bit longer near the end of this. So I'm going to make this faster. And then around here, we're going to hold this area for much longer. So I'm going to speed up this. So we have a little bit of a walk up. We hold for a while, then it drops. It's a very clear, distinct, like, now we're going to initiate the next part. So now that needs to, we need to hold that area for a little longer. I'm not gonna explain. There is a very specific shot that I love in the new Spider-Verse, which has just brainstormed an idea for a certain rhythm of this. and I think it could work really well. So I'm gonna try and use inspiration from that. And then make that really fast. And then we can drag out just here. And then really pull that apart to make that faster. Yeah. I think that would be cool. Yeah, that's gonna work. Cool. I think I'm gonna call it here for tonight. Like I think we've done like half the shot in terms of planning a bit more of the rhythm. It is getting late here now. It's like 1 in the morning, and I've got my Mondays are mental. But what I'll do is I'll save this. We'll do a quick render of it, and then we'll see how it's overall feeling a little bit more with the reference. So let me just, that's in edits, in the right place. Let's see what I called the other ones. I want to make sure I get my naming right, and then we'll play it through. So it is called edit 2. We'll quickly render that, see how it feels, and then yeah, at least you guys have seen a little bit more of the concept, kind of where I'm going with it. It's nice just to have record of this, and then I'll make a lot more of a concise edit when it's eventually finished. Yeah, and then hopefully it'll be a fun process to eventually start animating on. Yeah, I wanted to show the entire process because I feel like not many people show the planning. And it's just a fun way to like live streaming this. I think is slightly better for that kind of platform to like show the early process of planning and stuff. You kind of see me just figuring things out. But yeah, what I'll do is I'll play this, and then yeah, we'll see how it's feeling at the for now. Let me just turn on. There we go. Yeah, it's getting there. There's a lot to retime still. But getting it, I think it's easier for me to do it as a broader, like, get the broad accents working in Premiere just to edit it up. And then once I have the general idea and I have this all documented, then I'll go into Maya and fully retime it down and like make sure that it's synced a little bit more to this. And then I can proper track my arcs, get the broad staging working, and like I say, hitting those rhythms. And then we'll start doing posing, thumbnailing, blocking, and then we'll start in betweening and getting into the thick of it and the more fun stuff where we actually can start animating and getting a bit more technical with it and making some cool creative decisions. So yeah, I mean the later part of the process is going to be a lot more fun in terms of I guess just seeing the process, but I think it's good to just document this early stage as well. So yeah, thanks for everyone for joining. I hope you've enjoyed me just rambling on this live stream, and yeah, hope you all have a great rest of your weekend if you still on a different time zone. And yeah, speak soon.